You're very welcome to episode 39 of the Scaling Your Business podcast. And for this episode, we're going right back to Dublin. We've got Joseph Cosgrave joining us, the founder of Smarketing Cloud. Joseph, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me on. Great to
Love
see
to
you
have
all.
you. Yeah. You mentioned to me before the podcast, you grew up in Wexford. You're now living in Dublin. I don't know how long you grew up in Wexford for, so you can answer this question either Dublin or Wexford. But have you got any favorite memories of growing up in either Wexford or Dublin?
Favorite memories? God, that's a good question. Do have a lot of memories of people coming down to Wexford from Dublin. Spent a lot of summers in Rosslare, kind of palling around with a lot of Dubs. So always like Dublin people. In terms of good memories, God, there's a lot of them. I'd have to say probably traveling. It's probably when I was 18, went traveling a lot and didn't really appreciate Wexford until I left Wexford. It's probably the case for most people. Went on a trip around Europe, did a lot of Spain, France, like that. I remember coming home to Wexford and just looking at the whole lush greenery and the beaches and everything, and thought, yeah, God, this place is actually lovely. And went out that night and met all my friends, and had a new admiration for Wexford people. So that's probably one of the memories that stand out anyway.
Nice. You're now in Dublin. If anyone who's on this podcast has never been to Dublin, because we've got an international audience, and they were to spend one day in Dublin, what one thing would you say they've got to see?
What one thing? Great question. What one thing? I mean, the things that come to mind is, the Guinness Storehouse and the zoo, but, there's no real insider secrets being given away there. Maybe Glendalough, I mean, it's pretty beautiful. What one place? I think maybe just walking around Dublin in general is quite interesting, isn't it?
It
Just,
is. It's a
get a
nice
bus into
place.
town and just
It's
walk
easy to
around.
walk. It's
Yeah,
easy to
take
walk
it
around
all
the
in.
place. Yeah.
That's it.
Before we move
That's
on
it.
from your kind of upbringing, childhood, I'm curious to know, because it's a question I ask every guest, who do you think, and you can answer this with multiple people, had the biggest impact on you growing up?
That's probably an easier question. So there's probably two people that I never had a dad growing up, so I looked to other men to I suppose model off. It's kind of a blank slate. So one person I looked up to almost immediately was Steve Jobs. When just everything he's done has really inspired me. Just love his ability to market and sell, and also his obsession with product and creating like amazing products. I think for businesses, especially businesses that produce products, whether SaaS or otherwise, um, the common view is to kind of create something that's a little bit better than the competition. And I think unless you've got like massive money to compete with the big guys, um, you're going to fail unless you've got a product that's like 10x better. Not
Yeah.
incrementally better, but 10x better. And I think two people have done that extremely well. That's Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. So, got to say those two guys are, yeah, they're the two
Was that
guys
was
that
that the
probably,
second name? Was it Elon Musk was the
yeah,
second name?
Elon Musk. Yeah. So just the products that they've brought to market have changed the world. Um, Elon's stuff is on the path of changing the world, but certainly Steve Jobs has changed the world in more than one ways. And I think his ability to sell and market is unbelievable. Um, you know, I think he's just very creative and just really like everything about him. Apparently not a
Yeah.
very good guy to work for, but you know, some of the great ones never are they?
Yeah. It seems to be a common trait. But the question was lost. Oh, it was. I was always a fan of his presentations because he ended them with just one more thing,
I think,
wasn't it?
yeah.
One more thing, and then it was
And one
like
more
the
thing.
biggest thing of the
Yeah.
whole
it's
presentation.
it's like, everyone's jaw is like on the floor already, and then he's like, and by the way, there's this other thing, and you're like, Joe, where do you go from there? you need the product, you need the innovation to get that excitement there. Um, I think probably one of the things with him is that he was very good at looking at where the market's going, where technology is going, and basically pulling it all together and productizing it and bringing that to consumers, making it really simple and putting the power in people's hands. I think that's probably what he was particularly good at. Didn't necessarily create any of the things he brought to market. It was how he packaged the whole thing. And again, it's fundamental sales and marketing.
I have a colleague in the business I'm in that coaches. He's in the States. He coaches a lot of elite professional athletes and executives. And some of his clients are Mick Jagger, Tiger Woods, but one of his clients that he coached for years was Steve Jobs. And I've always been jealous that he got to spend a lot of time with Steve Jobs.
Wow.
You spent
Impressive
5
story.
years. Yeah, for sure. He's wrote a book. But he didn't mention Steve Jobs in the book. It's around coaching, so it's nothing to do with Steve Jobs. Maybe he had a sign of disclosure, I'm assuming. You spent 5 years working in the events industry. We spoke about it before we joined. You know, I think we've got 16 mutual friends on Facebook. Any favorite standout memories from your time in the events industry?
The whole thing was a hell of a lot of fun. I actually got started doing events in Wexford. I was about 16, and me and a friend of mine, Dominic Robinson, started throwing teenage discos. We were just bored, and nobody was doing anything like that. So we said, hey, why don't we throw some of our own parties? And we threw our first one. I think it was for Valentine's, and we did a whole like lock and key kind of theme. And I remember like kind of doing the whole operations, and I had my mom on the box office. There was just loads of people coming in, and we weren't even doing it to make money or anything at the time. We were just doing it like to be cool, you know, to have a lot of fun. And I went there to check my mom at one stage, and the whole box office was just full of cash. She didn't know what to. We just didn't plan for that, you know. And I was like, shit, you know, it's like this is like insane. I think it was something like 12 grand we brought in one night or something. So I was like, okay, there's something in this, and it kind of went from there. We kind of just started doing more of them. Then I started working for an events company called the Grooveyard. They're a crowd based in Galway, and Dublin office as well. And I did a couple of club tours for them. So I went and raised. Well, the guys did a proposal for a sponsorship, and we took it to some big brands, and we got Tiger Beer to sponsor a full moon club tour, and that was just unbelievable fun. I think I probably have been in every single club in the country at one point. You know, like I would have been in every club in the country, and then even in Dublin, I would have been quite well known. So when you're kind of like 18 to 22, it's cool to rock up to a club and to be on the guest list and not have to queue and everything. So a lot of fun times, brought over like a lot of celebrities and everything. So got to say, definitely squeezed a lot of juice out of the 20s. And it kind of ended then. I went and worked in the Wright Venue when it first opened, and I was kind of getting a bit older at that time, and the whole late nights and everything. I just kind of thought to myself, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? And I was like, the answer was no. So decided to kind of move out of the industry then. But yeah, I guess all of it was pretty insane. You know yourself from being in it.
Yeah, certainly lots of late nights. And I've been in many nightclubs myself as well. Funnily enough, actually, you're not the first guest I've had on that has had a lot of involvement in the Irish or Dublin nightclub scene. I had a guy called Dave Sherry from the Signature Group on 3-4 weeks ago. Nice guy. You spent 5 years in the events industry. I'm counting the Wright Venue as like 2 of those 5 years. You did a 180-degree kind of switch and started your own business after some time in CPL and other places. Why did you decide to start your own business?
I guess I've always been quite entrepreneurial, I would say, and I wasn't really that good at being an employee.
Me too.
And so I guess it was probably a bit of, it was either like, shut up and put up with the whole corporate world and, restrict my ambition, and work within the system, or go and do what I felt needed to be done. And Smarketing Cloud, as a side gig, I was working in CPL at the time. Well, actually, I started before working in CPL, but I really started having a use case for it while in CPL. I was working in marketing, and I was using a bunch of tools. I was using like Google Analytics. I was using Facebook, LinkedIn. I was using MailChimp. We had some CRM, and I was just kind of using all these different tools just to do my job. And it was like, I was trying to do kind of more advanced. I was trying to, I suppose, use more advanced strategies. And what I realized is that like it's really all centered around data, particularly digital marketing. And I was looking at like Google Analytics and kind of like getting insights from that, and then kind of going, I wish I could use those insights in my email campaigns. And everything was just really disconnected.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you know what? Like there's a big gap here in the market for a tool that allows you to kind of bring all your data together, extract insight, kind of organize that data, and then being able to like activate that data. And the other kind of trend that I notice is that like the whole the whole toolkit is just getting bigger. I mean, as a marketer, you've now got TikTok as well. You've now got like YouTube has been around for a long time, but the power of it, marketers are only starting to see. Like you doing this video right now, like right, it used to be like content is king, and that was really ebooks, blog posts, things like that. But now the whole content is king is like it's video content,
Hmm.
and so there's now even more tools. And so as a marketer, you need to be able to kind of like do all of this in a cohesive way, um, and also being able to do from one place. I think being able to say, okay, if you look at the tool sets that are out there, like Google Analytics can't really give you insights from TikTok, and there's no way Google and TikTok are ever going to become best buddies and
Yeah.
sync up. Same with Facebook. And so for us, in fact, the more tools and platforms there is, the better it is, because it creates a bigger problem for a marketer, which is that there's all these different tools that they need to use. So for us, the more that happens, the better it gets, because we just simplify it. We just bring it
Yeah.
all in one place. And so as I just said, you know what, I'm going to start building this tool. And in fairness, had I known then what I know now, I probably would have never started, because it's been one hell of a rocky road. It's really tough. Um, but now it's worth it, right? It's worth it. I've now got this really powerful platform that I'm very proud of. In terms of the capabilities, we work with clients. We provide kind of two core services. We have like the actual services piece, but we have the software piece too. So, and it was a strategic decision to do software and services, because looking at other competitors like HubSpot or Salesforce Marketing Cloud or Adobe Marketing Cloud, they're beasts in terms of their capabilities, and you almost need a team just to execute on them effectively.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that team, and you're paying, like I think like in Marketo and Adobe Marketing Cloud, like it could be 20 grand a month just for the software. And in many cases, in some of the companies that um, migrated, we've migrated them from those
Over to
systems
your
to our
platform.
systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, they were just sitting there, not really being utilized. They had this really powerful tool, but didn't really have the in-house team to do it. And so what we do is kind of come in and provide the services part. So we kind of complement their existing team. So their existing team could be, a traditional marketer that does a bit of content, maybe some PR, things like that. And maybe even they have some SEO or social media person, but they definitely don't have marketing operations or kind of like data analysts or anything like that. So we kind of bring in software and services. And yeah, I just felt that it was a strategic decision to do that. But again, that's kind of why I set up my own company, was just really to express the entrepreneur inside me, and also create the tool that I felt I needed. It was almost, necessity is the mother of all invention, right?
Yeah, no, I like it. It's you said something that caught my attention. It was where there's clients for Adobe or Marketo or any of those, and they're kind of just sitting there and money's coming out of their account because they're not taking full advantage of what they have. And you're kind of saying, hey, we'll like help you get more bang for your buck, essentially. There's another Irish company. Origina. I was trying to think of the name. Origina. They basically go to people who use IBM and say, "Hey, we can help save you X% of money annually," and do kind of the exact same job. And in the last 4 years, they've grown from 3 million annually to 33 million, which is impressive. Purely
Okay,
just from finding people who
take
have,
note of that company.
yeah, it's a good case study. If that's kind of what you're aiming to achieve, they're a great Irish company. The founder is a great guy, Tomas O'Leary, and his aim is to be at 250 million, 5 years from now or something. But yeah, ferocious team, and it's great to see.
And they're predominantly services.
Yeah, no, they
Software
were
also.
both. They were software and services. They sold off the software side of their business, and 2-3 years ago, and then just fully went services, and they've scaled and grown from that.
Services. For us, looking at the whole like software and services thing, I have a feeling that a book. I can't remember who the author of the book was, but I think the book's name was called Free, and in it was like everything trends towards zero, like everything is trending towards zero cost. And I think it's very evident, like as consumers, you can see like that we have so much abundance at such little like cost. Like we're richer now than we ever have, and that's only going to accelerate. And I think if you look at, I don't know how familiar you are with SaaS and SaaS sales, but there's a freemium model where you kind of give away your tool for free, and then there's also kind of like a usage based pricing model. So you're kind of like free, and then as you use it more, then it's almost like your electricity bill, right? Like you pay per usage. So if you send X amount of emails, whatever it may be. For me, I think the marginal cost of software is zero, right? Like if I sign up 10 more clients today and they're just purely software clients, there's very little overhead to that. And so I think probably what companies are going to start doing is using software as essentially a lead generation tool, right? Like here's our software, try it out. And so for me, I'm kind of adopting that philosophy very early on, because I think it's going to trend towards that way. So we're almost kind of using our software as an ebook, right? Like instead of downloading our ebook, here's our software. And when people come in to use it, we then come in and we have like, in about 2 months, we're introducing a services marketplace. And so in the services marketplace, you'll essentially have access to SDR, like remote talent, right? Like SDRs, graphic designers, web designers, SEO, pay-per-click, whatever it may be. And that's kind of going to be a monetization model for us. So it's the services, we see the software as, almost like a lead gen, but the services is where we plan to make money. But we can also then build in kind of usage-based pricing. So, if you're sending X amount of emails, or if you have X amount of visitors, that's where it's going. So for us, it's useful to have the software. That's at least how I say it. Could be completely wrong, but who knows?
No, you're smart. SaaS businesses is where I kind of spend predominantly, probably 90% of my time. And what I've seen some of them do, you reference the HubSpots is, and this is just an idea that's hit me as you're talking. HubSpot do HubSpot certification in insert anything, and I don't know if you guys do, Smarketing certified in something, so that people can come to your platform and get certified by you guys, and then they'll share about it and talk about it, and that's kind of feeding that, as you say, lead gen tool.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, if you think about, like you just mentioned HubSpot there. So if you think about HubSpot, like they didn't invent, but they certainly own in people's minds inbound, right? When you think inbound, you kind of instinctively think HubSpot, right? It's synonymous with their brand, and they put a lot of hard work into that. And so when we were thinking about the name for Smarketing Cloud, I was really trying to as far ahead as possible, because the way I was looking at it is like, oh, if right, we're moving, like the industry is moving at a certain velocity, and I was thinking, right, if I now, by the time I get to it, I'm going to miss it. And so it's kind of like, okay, I like build something that's going to be ready and now to be ready to capitalize from it. And one of the trends, and I said earlier on, was that there's going to be more dispersion of technology and tools. And so having a tool that brings them all together is definitely going to be needed. And I think attribution, the way market attributed. So a real simple example would be you run a Google search ad, someone clicks on it, they convert, and that's attributed to that. But it's very hard to attribute for brand awareness, for demand generation. So for example, doing cat now, you know, people are going to see that. You're going to build your personal brand, you're going to build the brand of your company, and they might engage with your content through social, and later then they might go into Google and you know, fill out a form and become a lead. Now, the way that gets attributed right now is that, you know, organic search gets credit for that. So SEO or whatever would be for that. And so, but in reality, it was the whole brand building, was the whole podcast or video, and it's very hard to measure that. And the reason why companies do that is because marketers can't measure it. The key question is like, well, how many leads did we get from that, right? And so they're under this short-term KPI that doesn't allow them to do more long-term strategic marketing or sales. And I think the other thing that's happening is that sales and marketing are becoming more blurred, right? I mean, it's one and the same thing, really. And you're getting people like yourself, who's a sales consultant, doing marketing to generate leads or you know, build your personal brand. And so for me, I think marketing, if when you look up the word for what it is, it's really the alignment of sales and marketing. It's kind of bringing sales and marketing together for like a single strategy, right? It's revenue generating. And so similar to, just come back to your original question, is do we see ourselves doing a certificate like that? We actually hope to get to a point where we have enough capital and to do kind of brand awareness stuff where we kind of bring Smarketing to the market as an idea, right? Like, you know, Smarketing is now like almost a profession where you're a sales and marketer. And, you know, like inbound is all about creating content. Smarketing will be about sales and marketing alignment.
Yeah.
And really what we're trying to do is build the tools around that. And when we have that ready, then we'll kind of come out with the whole kind of content piece and maybe the whole training, maybe certificate piece as well. But we're really looking at Smarketing as the we want to own that, I guess.
Gotcha.
You know,
gotcha.
that's what we want to be known for.
You mentioned demand generation. It's a term I'm seeing popping up more and more and more. Shout out Chris Walker. He has a podcast called Demand Gen. For those who don't know the difference, could you tell the people the difference between lead generation and demand generation?
Oh yeah, the age-old question. Yeah, so lead generation is a subset of demand generation, right? Like demand generation is everything, all encompassing. It's everything you do to your business. Lead generation is a tactic as part of the demand generation strategy. That's kind of the best way to look at it. Gotcha. Demand generation probably sits more top of funnel. It's more about building brand awareness. And I would say it's probably information and education, right? It's probably, you're not trying to make a sale, you're trying to inform and educate your prospects. And, you know, you're hoping that that content that you're putting out kind of pre-qualifies them. You're kind of saying, here's what we are, here's who we are, here's what we do, and here's how we do it, and here's who we do it for. And if people are consuming that content, they're kind of pre-qualifying themselves. It's like, yeah, I'm that, I fit in that box, and you know, this sounds like it could be a good solution for me. And then they go and they fill out a form on their site and become a lead. That's lead generation. So that's how I would differentiate the two.
Focusing on demand gen then for a moment, if you were to share any tips on how someone could build trust awareness, would you have any tips for them?
So if a lot of your listeners obviously are entrepreneurs, have a field or a background in sales as a caveat to that. Yeah. The old adage that people buy from who they know, trust, and like, I mean, it's still more true than ever. I mean, that's always going to be true. If you look at those three things, and if you kind of remove them from a sales sense and apply them to a more broad Smarketing sense where it's sales and marketing. If you look at what you're doing, right, is it sales or is it marketing, right? You know, what you're doing is you're producing valuable content. You're getting your kind of face out there, right? Like, so you're building trust. You're talking about solutions, and you're becoming likable, right? So you're kind of ticking those boxes. So in terms of what people can actually do, I would say is it's content, but content creation. And what I mean by content, podcast, a webinar, a YouTube video, TikTok video, anything, any piece of content that you can think of, blog post, whatever. Having that content is one part of the puzzle, but the distribution is kind of the second piece. And with the tools that we have now, like LinkedIn, Facebook, and TikTok, like it's RTE, TV, TV3, they're channels, right? Like they're your audiences are on these different channels, and it's the new TV, right? Even though, like, you know, your podcast isn't TV, but it's the new radio, it's 2FM, right? It's creating that, but it's also distributing it in a way, or to a target audience. Now, with demand generation in particular, you're generally going quite broad. If you look at LinkedIn, LinkedIn allows you to be really, really targeted. I mean, you know, as a strategy, you can create some videos. You know, if I want to attract salespeople and marketers in my industry, create some videos, go onto LinkedIn, get that content in front of those people. Like really, really simple strategy. Everyone can do it. Really powerful. I mean, it's not going to cost you a whole lot because it's so targeted. And I mean, that's borderline lead generation, I guess, you know, but that's something simple that every business can be doing today and should really be doing today.
Through my research, I don't know if it's still an ongoing project, but it will touch on it, and you can tell me if it's ongoing or not, is shopsocial.ie. Talk to me about it. What is it? Because I was on the website and I saw so much that I was like, I'll just ask Joseph what this is.
So with Smarketing Cloud, we have a couple of kind of widgets, I like to call them. They're actually fully fledged websites or platforms, but they're kind of complementary to our core offering. And an example of that would be, we kind of want to specialize in three core industries, and that's e-commerce, talent acquisition or recruitment, and B2B, right? Like they're the three pieces that we want to be extremely good at, and also we want to just have the best tool for. And so Shop Social was created just around the start of the pandemic, because we just thought, you know, e-commerce is really going to take off here. But we also needed a way for, we were kind of testing our e-commerce capabilities. And a couple of friends of mine were, like, some friends were kind of bee makers, or sorry, honey makers. Others were kind of like, you know, they drew pictures of dogs, and they were producing stuff. Some of it could be seen on Etsy or whatever it may be, but I was kind of saying, hey, look, I can get you customers for these. So we created a marketplace, and that's what Shop Social is. It's an e-commerce marketplace where you could go in, create an e-commerce profile, and you post that product on Shop Social, and Shop Social then will distribute that product to all the other marketplaces. So essentially, it gives you reach, right? Wow. So it will send it to Etsy, it will send it to, like, you know, Facebook Marketplace, it'll send it to Amazon, eBay, and Pinterest. So it pushes out to all of those places for you, and it does that for free organically. But then it also allows you to, because once you've got the product there, it's now essentially available for inbound traffic, and that'll get you some sales. But then where our product kicks in is that Smarketing Cloud, obviously there's a direct connection to it, so we can now do some of the kind of cool advanced marketing techniques. So for example, if you have customers coming in, it'll go into like your kind of customer segmentation, and you can do that based on, you know, average order value or whatever it may be. It'll create a segment, and then it can push that segment to Facebook or Google or Pinterest and do lookalike audiences automatically. And so you can kind of run lookalike ads or remarketing ads just really easily, right? Yeah. I spoke to a lot of people about advertising on Facebook, and it's astonishing because it's super powerful and it works. But then you have so many people saying, yeah, I tried it, it didn't work. It's like, It's not that it doesn't work, it's just you didn't do it right. And the reason they didn't do it right is because they're probably not a digital marketer, right? Like they didn't know all the small intricacies of what makes a campaign work. And so one of the things that we want to do is just make that really simple. Like I want my mom to be able to go into Smarketing Cloud and be able to create a campaign with ease and be a successful marketer without having to like learn a bunch about digital marketing. And so we also have another platform called Insta Hire, which is akin to Shop Social, but it's for the recruitment game. And then we have a product called Firmographic, which is for B2B, and that's essentially like a B2B database. So if you're looking at account-based marketing, for example, you can go in, identify your key accounts, and then we'll basically build tiered accounts or tier 1, tier 2 accounts and allow you to orchestrate your sales and marketing towards those accounts. So Smarketing Cloud is our core product, but then we have kind of sub products off it that enable, they essentially reduce friction.
Yeah.
How we look at it.
That's phenomenal. The shopsocial.ie side of things. The reason why I didn't delve too much into it was because the conversation here was around Smarketing Cloud and getting to know you. I just took a brief look at it, but that's phenomenal that you can take a product and then enable it to go out to all the different platforms, Facebook, eBay. Can you see which platform is getting more hits on, so you know where to spend more ad revenue?
Exactly. So that's exactly it. And if like I kind of said at the beginning, all of these platforms are going to get into e-commerce, right? Why wouldn't they? It's a big, huge market. And a problem, an unintended consequence of that is that you're just going to have so much confusion. And so what we're doing is we're kind of meeting that problem kind of early on and trying to solve it as quickly as possible and really making it simple. So you just want to be able to one place and let the kind of a distribution algorithm do that for you. And we've done the same thing then with Insta Hire with jobs. So if you think about jobs, you've got jobs.ie, you've got LinkedIn jobs, Facebook jobs, Indeed, you've got so many job boards, and we do the same thing for companies with jobs. So you can post a job on Insta Hire and I'll also distribute it to all of these different places. And you've got the organic distribution, and then you've kind of got the pay distribution. So
sounds like you're living at the end of 2021, not at the beginning of 2021.
Yeah, I try to say as I'm actually dyslexic, and apparently one of the advantages of being dyslexic is that you have a thing called interconnected reasoning, where you're able to like connect the dots, like you're able to think big picture. So it's definitely a trait true with me, but don't ask me to spell interconnected reasoning.
I notice a lot of books behind you there, Joseph. Is there any books or podcasts you read or listen to seek advice from, or even mentors?
I love books. I love books on behavioral economics. I think behavioral economics ties really well with marketing, because you're essentially trying to influence people to take action, and that's kind of what behavioral economics is all about. So like Hooked is up there. Nudge, they're very much around people and how they make decisions, and like cognitive biases. Very into that. And then also just love books on science and biology and things like that. Business books in general. I have 2 kids now, so I don't get as much time to read books anymore, but Audible is my go-to app. My wife is always giving out to me at night because she kind of wakes up in the middle of the night with some guy talking in her ear about some existential crisis or whatever. Maybe I put it on going to sleep, and I'm convinced it sinks into your subconscious. But my wife likes to debate me on that one.
Well, there's this app actually that I came across, and I've mentioned it now in the last 2 podcasts. It's called Blinkist, which essentially condenses a book into like 15-20 minute snippets.
Yeah.
So it saves you having to read the entire thing, but you still get the core value lessons from the book.
The kind of juicy bits. I haven't tried it. I have seen it a few times. Like it's an interesting idea. Like I could see how that's useful, and I think as well, like a lot of the times when I'm listening or reading to a book, I'm like, you kind of read the first 2 or 3 chapters and you kind of get the gist of the book. And then the rest of the book is really explaining the same thing, just in different ways. And so,
Yep.
some
You
people have a talent for taking something like that and really extending it. I'm more just straight to the point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You've mentioned HubSpot, and this is more just a statement, and I'll ask the question. But you've said HubSpot a couple of times in this thing, and they're somewhat of a competitor to Smarketing Cloud. But I don't know if anyone's ever said it to you, but the first VP of Sales for HubSpot, now the founder of MD Capital, Mark Robridge, wrote the book Acceleration Sales. You look identical to him. That's just a side comment. I don't know if anyone's ever said that to you.
I've got Channing Tatum a few times, but never that one. No.
Oh, well, there you go. Mark Roberts, a new one.
my nephew likes to say that I'm a fat Channing Tatum. I don't know whether that's a compliment or an insult, but anyway.
So we've talked about the side project or the other things, Shop Social, the second thing to Smarketing Cloud, and books. What continues to drive you?
I have to say I'm very lucky. Like I get up like about 5:30 or 6 every morning, and like I can't wait to start the day. And I think it's because I just love what I do. Like I'm definitely doing what I should be doing. Like I love it. It doesn't feel like working. And like obviously outside of that, my family and stuff. But I guess because we're on my business, we'll keep it there. I just think, yeah, like I've found my thing, and I'm lucky enough to be doing it. Like my why is very strong, right? Like the why of everything drives me, right? Like I've always loved business. I've always loved sales. I've always loved marketing. I love psychology. I love product, and I've really found a way to bring all those together. And in addition to that, like, I mean, creating a business is really, really challenging, and it really forces you to be creative and solve problems daily. Like if you don't have the right mindset, you're ruined. Like, because it's hard. And if you don't enjoy the process, then it has to be 10 times harder. So I would say, just like, I said it earlier on, I've never been a good employee. I get bored, like in jobs. Like you kind of get to a point where you're optimal. You're performing at the most optimal, whether it's like being an SDO or a recruiter or whatever it is. And there's nowhere to go from there. You kind of hit a ceiling. Like you can just bill more, or have more output. But in terms of your growth, in terms of being challenged, you've hit a ceiling. You're just doing the same thing but more efficiently, right? And so, yeah, I just think I'm doing what I need to do in order to have this fire in my belly. And it kind of helps to have the right mindset. I think, I've kind of got that mindset that I like. I'm not going to use the word stress because it has a negative connotation, but challenges. Like I like to problem solve. I like the fact that, if you're going to run out of money in 2 months, like you're done. So it's like, what the hell do you do?
That's a fire underneath your ass.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's 100 different things you can do, but the other thing is you're limited in resources, so you have to pick the right ones, and you have to get very methodical about what's going to deliver the best return. And I suppose it forces you to be creative and strategic, and they're kind of left, right brain things at play. And it's it's fun. It's fun. It's exciting.
Well, for the final two questions, let's move from business to personal. Second last question is, I know that you spent 5 years in the event industry. You've mentioned that you're a dad and a husband. You also own a dog, from my research. What's one thing that you're into or curious about that not a lot of people know about you?
Yeah, so I produce music. I used to DJ a lot, like house music. And then I got into producing music, and I love it because like I'm always switched on, and it's hard to switch off. And so I produce electronic music, although it's still electronic, but it's not house anymore. It's kind of, I don't even know what genre it is. It's kind of chilled I don't know. I don't release it. I don't think anyone would even care if I did release it. But I just love sitting down and having something in my head. And I guess when you look at business and you want to create something, it takes time. You know, Shop Social, Smarketing Cloud, any of those things has taken a long time to manifest. When you sit down to create music, it's almost like instant manifestation of an idea. Like there's something really cool about that, and being able to like dial in, like being able to manipulate frequency in real time and have a direct output. There's just something to it, and I guess that's something that a lot of people wouldn't know, but I find the process of producing music it really helps me with escapism, and you know, it helps me to be creative in a new way. Because you know, being an entrepreneur, you're kind of always working, right? You're never really. It's one of the downfalls, I guess. Is that you're always kind of having to be on and be thinking about it, and it's hard to switch off. But when you're making music, like you really kind of get drawn into it, and you know, like you kind of look up and like a half a day is gone, but you've kind of got something to show for it. You've got this. But there's something, and it's also then the emotion of it. Like, I mean, it's something that's deep within you that you've somehow allowed to come out. It's I can't really articulate the feeling, but it's something that something that's special.
Final question. All your loved ones are safe, but your house is burning down and you can only save one item. What one item are you saving?
My laptop.
Fair. Most people do
Probably
choose
my
a laptop or their phone.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, my laptop. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you had time to really be to actually think about it and not have a knee-jerk reaction, most of the stuff is backed up to the cloud. But yeah, I think it's probably something that it would be most devastating if I lost. I mean, you could go and recover and back up everything, but it would just be an awful pain to do that. But yeah, I guess my laptop.
Nice. Well,
or if my mom is listening, a picture of my mom.
I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 45 minutes. I wish you every success in the future with all your endeavors. Shop Social.ie, Smarketing Cloud. You're certainly a forward thinker living in early 2022, probably at some stage. But yeah, thank you for being my guest today, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you for having me, and all the best for you too.